Welcome back to the lab. This is Josh, your host, Grey Duck Customs. This is going to be a very short live, so I'm not going to bore you guys with a ton of stuff today. And what I'm going to be doing is basically talking about waxing and buffing your molds. So this is a very important step of the process when you're going to be doing carbon fiber things. We have two molds here today. One is our Honda badge mold. So this is going to be getting filled with clear casting resin or plexi, basically clear plexi, for lack of a better term. You can see there's a little bit of wax residue buildup in the corners already. Don't mind about that. That'll be just fine. And then our other mold is our Nacaduct. This one's looking pretty good. I've already got a few coats of wax on here, but I figure it's never a bad thing to just go over the basics with you guys. For the wax releases, there's a couple different styles of wax release. Let me show you actually. Where is the other can? There we go. I just happen to have all the supplies out. So there are a couple different types of waxes that I typically use on molds. This is Pardal Paste Wax. They call it number 2. I don't know what number 1 is, but Pardal Paste Wax is going to be used in conjunction with the PVA. A lot of guys like to use the PVA. You can spray this on, brush it on, wipe it on. I don't have a problem with using PVA. What it does is it creates a film or a very light coating over your mold surface. So when you run your parts, you're going to have to take that film off. And it is water soluble. So once you get your part popped out, you just wash it with soapy water, clean off the residue, and you're good to go. Really good release system. If you're not sure about what kind of chemicals or what kind of paint or what kind of product is being used, Pardal is kind of the, end all do all in terms of releases. It's a really good wax release base. But like I said, it is used with the PVA film. So the other wax I use a lot is TR High Temp Mold Release. This is the wax I will use when I am going to do production runs of carbon fiber. So you do not use the PVA with your TR mold release wax. They are not compatible. So if you use TR mold release and then you try to put PVA on, you will end up getting little, water droplets basically. This has got a little bit of silicone in it. That one doesn't have so much silicone in it. What am I currently making on page C? I've got a couple molds here that we are just going to be doing some wax prep on. This one is for a pair of Honda badges, which I'm going to be making out of clear casting resin for my hot rod called Project Honda Rod. So, and then the other one, this is a Nacaduct or a Naca vent scoop, air scoop. So got a flat mounting surface. This is going to be kind of for some cooling extracting vents that I have on the hot rod. And I don't even have a Nacaduct I can show you guys, but yeah, Nacaduct and Honda badges. So the Honda badges started out as plastic little side badges. Picked these up off of a old vintage Honda S600, and those molds are the reverse of that. So pretty cool. Can I show the project? I do not have a picture of the Honda rod here. I do have a YouTube account for Project Honda Rod, and it is spelled out Project Honda Rod. It is the only mid-engine Honda-powered hot rod in the world that I know about currently, so it's pretty cool. Grey Duck Customs is a lot of the carbon fiber fabrication side of the things that I do for YouTube. Project Honda Rod has got its own car channel and, car following by itself. So I don't have, you know what I do have? No, I don't. I just shipped that out. I was going to say I could show you I could show you a die cast I have of the car, but I don't have one currently here. I also make little 1/64 scale Honda rods as well for friends, family, that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. So wax release, got an applicator pad, very, very quickly. I wish I could show you Project Honda Rod right now. It's pretty cool, not gonna lie. Built the car probably, oh, I don't know, well, 6 years ago now. I built it during the basically 2019 to 2020. It started out as a D15B VTEC, a little Japanese 1.5 with the 5-speed. And last year, I ended up switching it over to a Honda H series, and it is running Haltech now. Did a few other changes. Steering column changed, some suspension stuff changed, dashboard changed a little bit, pedal box changed, all sorts of things changed last year. So unfortunately, it started snowing here in Minnesota before all the dyno sessions were done. But with the H22, it did put down 185 horsepower at the wheels, and it did make 175 foot-pounds of torque. So I am very, very much anticipating it to make more power than that this year. Sorry, I just had to turn up a shop heater there. So, but that will have to wait until springtime, because right now we still have 0-degree temperatures and cold weather in Minnesota. So hopefully in another month I can get the hot rod out and I can start doing some finishing upgrades from last year and get that dialed in for the show season this year. I do have a couple little side projects on it that I'd like to do. I'd like to put some new upholstery on the seats. Right now it's got just Honda Del Sol seats in it. And I would like to make a mold of those and make those out of carbon fiber, or at least give them some new upholstery. So there we go. With this wax, I typically like to let this sit for a few minutes before I wipe it off. And we're going to do the other one just in case. Well, not just in case. We're going to do the other one as well. So the Nacaducks, same kind of deal. We're just going to start with small swirls. Like I said, this is the 4th application of wax I'm putting on. These Nacaducks are going to be made carbon fiber, so I will do a live video for the layup of those, so you guys can see the infusion and the layup process and all that kind of fun jazz. The Honda rod, the Honda badges, like I said, those are just going to get cast, so I'll have to get some clear casting resin for that, and that should be a pretty simple one. It should just be a poured in kind of deal. But the game plan is to turn the Honda badges from just a badge into a side marker / running light. It's kind of the idea that I got behind that. So hopefully it works as described or as planned. Okay, that looks pretty good. I do not wait any more than about 5 minutes before I start doing the wipe off process on this. With both styles of wax, whether it's the TR wax or the Pardal wax, it does take about a half an hour for both of these to set. If you wait too long to wipe it off and it starts to set before you wipe it off, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get the wax off. So just a little trick of the trade, wipe it on, give it a few minutes to flash off, and then it can snap. In your opinion, you would use steel or any other material. What can snap? It can snap. Are you talking about the clear badges or the carbon fiber vent scoops? The way these are going to mount in there. Oh, no. It would take a lot of abuse for the carbon to snap. A lot of people will say that carbon fiber is twice as strong as steel, and yes and no. Okay, so here's the thing. I actually have some thin carbon fiber. So this is a carbon fiber plate from a race car. This is from a 24-hour Le Mans car. And you can see that there's a honeycomb material. And so there's basically one skin of carbon on this side, one skin of carbon on that side. And this thing, it's rock solid. It ain't going nowhere. If I do start to really, really, really push on it, I mean, this is not going to bend too much because of the core material, but it can crack like so, right? And that's how easy it is for carbon fiber to crack once it's been damaged. So if the carbon fiber weighed as much as a steel plate, so this plate weighs nothing. I mean, this is so lightweight. That's one of the kind of kickers about carbon fiber when guys are talking about strength, is that they'll say carbon's, twice as strong as steel per pound. They leave that little area out. So if this carbon plate weighed as much as a steel plate in the same amount of weight, it would be stronger than steel. But because this carbon plate is just a featherweight panel, it's not going to have the same strength as steel. The other really nice thing about carbon is it doesn't have to have a core material. This one also has a core material. This is an infused panel. This is going to be stronger than the honeycomb because there's actually more resin in there than the honeycomb channels. So this one, if I try to, I can't break this at all. I'm trying to snap that in half there and it's not going. So this is more of a rigid panel. It's going to weigh more than this honeycomb panel. So for race cars and weight concerns, honeycomb's a great way to go. But if you get into an accident, it's going to break. If you're trying to do more of a street car setup, extra weight is a good thing. So depending on your application, race grade carbon fiber is probably not your best choice. But yeah, it does take a lot of abuse before carbon fiber breaks. But once it does break, it's done city. Then you're pretty much throwing that part away, or you're calling a guy like me to do a repair. And that is typically not cheap. Okay, so we're going to wipe off the majority of that. I'm going to wipe off this mold. And then we don't do anything with this for at least a half an hour. So on all the directions of these wax cans, it doesn't matter if it's the part all wax or the TR wax. They want you to put 5 or 6 coats of wax on. And they want you to wait half an hour between the layers because of that set time. But they want to make sure that you actually get wax on every single square inch of the mold. So by doing it 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 times, you're pretty much guaranteed that you have good wax coverage. And if I did want to do a carbon fiber, so if I did want to use this part all PVA film, I would put this in an HVLP gun, like a regular paint gun, and I would spray it on. Some of the guys like to use a rag and brush it on. If I'm making production parts, I do not use PVA. The wax is good enough by itself. And if you do choose to use the PVA, you're going to have orange peel on your surface. It's not going to be pretty when you pop it out, and you're going to need to do some post-finish work. I rarely do any sort of post-finish work. Typically, I give that to my customers to do, and I give them a better deal on the manufactured price. So I'm not a huge shop here. I'm just a small little, garage guy. I do all sorts of different things, from race car repair to mold work to, custom parts fabrication. But finishing is not my forte. I typically let a paint shop or the end user do the final finishing, just because it's easier that way from a customer standpoint. If a guy wants to put clear coat on it, cool. If he doesn't, that's fine too. If you want to, let's say do candy coat, where you want to put some candy on top of the carbon, you can do that way easier if it's unfinished compared to if it is finished. It'll just be far easier for a guy to prep it out. I suppose I could show you that in just a second here. I got enough wax on here. Give me a second. I'm going to go grab a part and show you guys something. This is really, really, really dusty. I apologize about how dusty this is. Let me give a quick wipe down here. Let me show you. So this is a carbon fiber gas tank cover for a Honda Ruckus. And you can see the backside, carbon fiber. These things are super lightweight. Boy, this is dusty. Poor thing. Poor thing. So this is made out of gold reflections carbon fiber. So if I move it around, you can see the gold shinies going on there. So I sell these not as much anymore. The Honda Ruckus game has kind of faded off, but I used to sell these pretty regularly back in the day. So all my parts have an in-mold clear coating. So when it's at the mold stage here, I'll actually spray a clear gel coat on top of the mold, and I'll set my carbon fiber onto that. I'll do my layup, and the part pops out. It's got an in-mold clear coating. So you can see this is just a little bit hazy. Yeah, there's a little bit of dust on there. But what this allows me to do then is I can sand this and not damage the carbon fiber because I'm only sanding into the clear coat. I'm not actually sanding carbon fiber. Where on the back side, there is no clear coat on that. If I was to start to sand this, it would actually damage the fabrics. So by putting an in-mold clear coating in there, that really, really, really helps out in terms of A, sunshine, UV exposure. The fact that it has a clear coat on it is going to make it last longer in the sun. But B, if somebody wanted to sand this and polish it or put even automotive clear on it, you could do that way, way, way easier. So yeah, this is kind of the quality of parts that I make right out of the box. Pretty darn good. So like I said, this is what most of my customers get is they get a fresh out of the mold, trimmed up part. They do all the final sanding, polishing, clear coating, all that kind of stuff on their own, and everybody gets a good deal. I make cool parts. People get a good value. Everybody is happy. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing with the Nacaduct. Is I'll spray that with a clear coat, lay my carbon fiber down, run my infusion, and then I pop it out. It should look downtown Julie Brown. Okay, tell you why automotive companies charge more when you're buying only carbon fiber without any paint and charge less than when you're buying carbon fiber with paint. I will tell you that. So companies like Pagani, who do raw carbon fiber, it is very, very, very difficult to get a perfect finish with no extra coating on it. So if I don't have any coating in here and there's any imperfection, I can't fix that. Where right now, if there's an imperfection, let's just say let's pretend that this gold reflections, we don't care about the gold reflections. Let's just pretend it's standard carbon fiber. So this would be raw carbon here, right? So if I've got a fabric that is out of line, or there's a wiggle or something like that, or there's some sort of gap in the weave, something is wrong with the weave, I can't fix that because the second you start to sand on it and touch it, it wrecks the whole look of everything and the part goes in the trash. I do have a friend who was in Italy doing a tour at the Pagani factory, and he said that behind the Pagani factory, they have a very, very large dumpster bin full of parts that didn't pass the quality control test. And he said there's enough parts in there that you could literally build a whole Pagani out of the dumpster bin. So when you're doing raw carbon fiber, every imperfection shows it has to be perfect out of the mold. And no matter how good of a carbon fiber technician you are, it is going to cost you a couple parts every once in a while to get a perfect part, and especially on a $3 million car. So this particular part, when I do this, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to actually see this. So there is a seam that runs from the top side to this flange here. I'm going to try to zoom in on that without losing focus. You can probably see the seam right there. So this fabric is going this way, this fabric is going this way, and there's literally a seam right on that edge there. So with in-mold clear coating, if I wanted to do any work to this, Like I said, I can sand it, I can scuff it, I can re-prep it, I can re-clear coat it, I can, paint it blue, white, red, whatever color I want to paint, and you would never know that there was damaged carbon fiber underneath that finish. If you want exposed carbon, it has to be perfect right out of the gate. Add a question and answer sticker. Who's my favorite? I don't know what that was. YouTube is giving me suggestions. So yeah, when automotive companies are doing raw carbon fiber with no paint, they actually charge more because it is more difficult to get perfect carbon fiber right out of the gate. There's a lot less room for error. I've got a ton of wax buildup inside the little emblem details here, so I'm just using a screwdriver to try to get this down. I went to try to find some Q-tips because a Q-tip would have been the perfect tool, but I am out of Q-tips in the shop currently, so I am left with MacGyver status of, buff rag and a screwdriver to get in there. I do some parts for a friend of mine makes Ford GT supercar, like 0506 Ford GT supercar parts. So I occasionally run parts for him, and those are largely cosmetic parts, but we do run a bunch of GT parts that we are going to paint. And so if we have bad carbon fiber coming off the roll, it doesn't bother us because it's going to get painted surfaces anyway. A lot like a Ferrari F40 was painted. If you were to actually strip the paint off an F40, you would probably see that it's not very pretty carbon fiber underneath there. And that's pretty much the standard for race cars. So I was just doing a repair for a 24-hour Le Mans car, and that vehicle was in a pretty bad wreck. And when you start doing repair on those, there's seam work all over the place on that bodywork. I was not aware of how many bits and pieces and scrap carbon they use in that. So anywhere they can save $1 and they're reusing chunks of carbon, they are using whatever they have in the shop. There is no rhyme or no reason to how nice the weave looks. And again, why would you care? If it's a race car, it's just going to get crashed into a wall. You're going to have a wreck on the course. Something like that's going to happen. So it's a tool at the end of the day. It's not for cosmetic. It's for strength and lightweight. So they don't care about how the carbon fiber looks, generally. There are some race car guys that do care about how the carbon fiber looks, but generally speaking, 99% of real race car drivers with carbon fiber on them do not care about the carbon fiber looks. That is only an import tuner, street car kind of thing to get some cred. Carbon fiber was never designed to be a decorative finish. It was always designed to be a structural component. So if you guys remember back when Lamborghini came out with the Sesto Elemento, that was a forged carbon fiber constructed car that was done in collaboration with Callaway golf clubs. That carbon fiber looks terrible, but it's very, very strong and very useful. And that's kind of sort of how carbon fiber was developed. It wasn't designed to be a surface finish. So it's very, 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 very difficult to get perfect carbon fiber out of the box. Let's scroll up here. Do you know any Indian famous like Royal Enfield 650? Like the Burtman Row style bike? If you buy a flooded luxury car, supercar, made it yourself, refurbished, you sell it for a profit. Yes. Yes. You 100% can buy a damaged luxury or supercar, repair it, and resell it. Whether or not it will pass crash tests is another thing completely. Um, so there's a company called Glickenhaus, if you've heard of those guys. They're doing full carbon fiber bodied cars, and they go through a very, very, very rigorous testing procedure for their chassis and suspension work. And their quality control is by far one of the best in the business. I mean, they are on par with what Koenigsegg does for their quality control. The Glickenhaus cars, if you were to damage one of those, you would have to hope it's like a subframe thing, right? Where you have your main cockpit and then you have a front subframe and a rear subframe. And so if the front end of the car got damaged, you take off the front of the car, you keep the cockpit, you keep the rear tail section. But if the whole thing gets banged up, you're pretty much in big trouble. Will it be streetable again? Yes. Will it be safe? That would be questionable. That would be very, very questionable. So most carbon fiber cars can sustain one accident. Whether or not they can sustain 2 or 3 really depends on the accident. The prototype cars that I do repair on, they're pure-blooded race cars. These are not street legal cars. When we do carbon fiber repair, we do the best job we can and we get them back on the track. And the owners are fully aware that if that car gets into a wreck, you know, there may be extra damage if it gets in a wreck the second time. You know, like if a fender were to get damaged, okay, no big deal. That's just cosmetic. But if some member of the actual cockpit were to get damaged, I don't know if we would put it back on track for competitive use. It all depends on where it is and how it's been damaged. So when you were bringing up the, no, I've been in all kinds of different sports. I've done a little bit over the years. I am this channel is basically my garage hobby shop and personal projects thing. I am a professional fabricator by trade. I've worked in the prop effects industry. I've done large scale, you know, displays that are all over the country for amusement parks and movie sets and et cetera, et cetera. I've worked on a couple different race teams. I'm actually a pit crew chief for a buddy's race car team. So I'm very familiar with a lot of things that that your average mechanic is not familiar with. I've got friends that have gone 300 and 400 miles an hour out at the Bonneville Salt Flats, so I'm pretty comfortable with going really, really, really fast. The bike is like a cafe racer. Oh, cool. There's a guy I follow on Instagram that is into the cafe racer bike thing, and he does a lot of like rear tail sections, like little finned tail sections, which is really, really cool. And he uses fancy decorative carbon fiber like nobody's business. So he uses a lot of that reflection stuff. Does a lot of candy coating. I love it. He's got a really nice mold that he just makes tail sections whenever he wants to make tail sections. And I love the cafe racer look. 650. That's a pretty good sized cafe racer. That'll get around a track. Have a lot of fun with it. I used to ride super bikes back in the day, and this is going back 15, 20 years now, but I used to ride 1,000-liter super bikes and had a couple crashes, and after my crashes, I decided I didn't want to keep riding. I was more concerned about staying alive than I was concerned about going fast on a track. So, yeah, on page C. So I have an Instagram channel that is the same as my YouTube channel name, Grade Up Customs. If you DM me on Instagram, I can go through and find the cafe racer guy and send it directly to your DM box if you want to do that. GREY, Grey Duck Customs. So yeah, if you hit me up on the Instagram, DM me there. I can send you all the different cafe stuff that I have for the guy that's doing cafe racers. He's doing really, really cool stuff. There's a lot of creativity in the cafe racer market. Boy, my stream is going long enough here. I might just put my final wax coat on both of these since I'm still sitting here. We're sitting about half an hour. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, cafe racers are really, really, really cool. I like when the guys will take like a GSXR or a CBR 1000 or something like that, and they'll take all the fairings off and make them naked bikes. That's a fun time. When I got into my Honda Ruckus, which is a scooter, if you're familiar with the Honda Ruckus, Honda Ruckuses start life as a 49cc scooter. I wanted to just get back on a bike and ride any way, shape, or form. And so I ended up getting this Honda Ruckus, and immediately I stretched it and lowered it and tuned up the engine a little bit. And then I ended up doing an engine swap. So now my Ruckus is a 200cc engine. And it's got the big fat back tire on the back of it. So I think they're only 12 inch. Well, I know they're only 12-inch wheels. Not I think. I know how big the wheels are. So my back tire is a 12x7. It runs a 140/70/12. It's got a stretch on it. And that scooter does almost 90 miles an hour now, which is just terrifying on a scooter. Honda never, ever, ever designed the Ruckus to go 90 miles an hour. So it is a riot. It is super fun, but it is a terrifying machine. Really good at racing cars from stoplight to stoplight. I'm not supposed to take mine on the highway, but because I registered mine as a motorcycle, I am able to do so. I don't do that regularly. That bike top speed is 180 stock. Ooh, yeah. My old CBR would do about 180 on the top side, and that was before any mods. And that's flying, man. 180 miles an hour on a bike you're cooking, man. I don't care what anybody says. 180 miles an hour is fast. We go out to the Bonneville Salt Flats every year and do land speed racing out there. And out there, everybody kind of laughs when you tell them like, "Oh yeah, our car goes 185 miles an hour," and they're like, "Only?" We're like, man, the salt flats are not very forgiving when it comes to traction. It is very, very, very difficult to go 200 miles an hour. And everybody's just used to seeing the streamliners that go 300 and 400 miles an hour, so they think it's easy. But I have seen, so a number of years ago, this guy brought a Porsche 911 Cup car out to Bonneville to do some just fun runs. And in the 1 mile track, he was only able to go 122 miles an hour. And they were trying to go 130 miles an hour to get their license run. And he couldn't do it. And he got pissed off. He says, "Oh, the timing system sucks here. This car's a 150 mile an hour car." And we're like, "Well, welcome to Bonneville." It only sounds easy. But I come from the days back when 500 horsepower was, is it for a daily commute? No. No daily commute. So I come from the days back when 500 horsepower was a lot of horsepower on the street. If a guy had a 69 Mustang or a 70 Chevelle or something like that, and he had 500 horsepower, that was considered a lot of horsepower. Now everybody and their brother's got 1,000 horsepower like it's going out of style, which is beautiful. I mean, we live in a wonderful time right now in the world where everybody and their brother can just have 1,000 horsepower street car, but it's so unnecessary. Very, very rarely are you ever going to have the opportunity to put down 1,000 horsepower unless you're doing some very, very, very elite, land speed kind of racing. 1,000 horsepower in the street is going to do nothing but get you put into jail, get you tickets and get you into trouble. I don't know very many people that are qualified skills wise to drive 1,000 horsepower car. And I see all these guys leaving cars and coffees, and they're all over the road leaving. It's like holy smokes, man! Like you don't need 1,000 horsepower on the street. Okay, that time you can't ECU mod. Yeah, no. When I had my, so I had a CBR 920. I had a CBR 929RR, and this was back from 2000, and so that there was an ECU on that one, and the only thing that I could do on that was add a power commander. So I did ram air on it. I had exhaust on it. I had a little bit of an airbox modification, but aside from that, the computer is stock. Nowadays, everything does something. Everybody's got a different modified computer in their race bikes. And so my bike, when it hit the dyno, it only dynoed out at 158 horsepower. So it's not like it was. I mean, some of these stock bikes now, some of these 1,000cc bikes. I mean, they're putting down 170 as a bone stock motorcycle, which is crazy. I mean, it's cool. Like I said, I love it, but that is a lot of motorcycle to give to somebody. And I'm all for freedom, and I am all for people having fun, but CBR 1000 RRs. I've never actually been on 1000 RR, but I think those you can modify the ECU, especially nowadays. I think they're hackable or programmable. Like I said, on my 929, it was only capable to use a power commander. It was the only thing available for us. And I don't really know how much that could adjust. I wasn't doing my own tuning back in the day then. So the dyno guy, I don't know what he was actually all able to adjust on the curve. If it was just adjusting spark or if it was adjusting timing. I have no idea how far he could go with that. I don't know if you could put bigger injectors on there or what that would actually control, but it made a difference. And I was more of a part-time track guy. Mine was a street bike, and I unfortunately had a problem with doing too many wheelies. So you just bought it. Awesome. I love the CBR 1000. I think it looks fantastic. I love the undertail exhaust. What year is your CBR 1000? Is it an older one or a newer one? I don't think they've changed a whole lot. I was kind of half thinking about running a carbon fiber Honda logo badge here, and I don't know Gen 1. So that must be what, probably like a 2004 maybe, 2005, something like that. That's a great bike. It's a really, really, really nice motorcycle. If I was to buy another motorcycle, that is exactly what I would buy. Miles are over the head. That's fine. Nobody cares about miles on motorcycles. They'll run forever. As long as he changed the oil regularly, that engine will last 100,000 miles. No problem. If a Honda Civic can go 300,000 miles, a CBR can go 100,000. Well, maybe not quite, but I'd be willing to bet you that you can probably get 40, 50,000. Sorry, my stream just cut out. YouTube does that every once in a while. I don't know if it's a timing thing or what, but it does It does cut the stream temporarily, so I apologize about that for you guys. We'll see how many people have waited around for the stream to rejoin. That happens every once in a while when my videos are getting to the, yeah, about this time, about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. We've talked more about the miscellaneous stuff in the waxing, but this is pretty straightforward stuff, guys. A lot of your composite fabrication stuff is just planning and preparation. I had an old boss once who said that if you're not doing it right the first time, you won't have time to fix it when it's wrong. And I really took that to heart years ago. You know, even on stuff like waxing this, right? Like it'd be really easy to put one coat of wax down, call it good, and then be like, oh, I'm just going to run it. Well, if your wax layer isn't good enough and you stick a part in your mold, oof, then you're in big trouble. Then you got to start all over. So I would rather take an extra couple hours, do your prep right, make sure things are correct. You know, set yourself up for success. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when it comes to composite fabrication. But planning out your attack and planning out your part strategy is a large portion of winning. I tell you guys, for anybody still watching here, I tell you guys all the time that I do a lot of these lives instead of doing videos. That way you guys can see what it actually takes in real time compared to just a cut and edited video. I do know gatekeeping when it comes to secrets and tricks. So whatever tricks I have learned along the way, I will pass forward to you guys. I do not leave steps out of the process. I know there are a number of YouTube channels that do that because when I watch their videos, I see steps getting missed. And those are very, very, very important steps sometimes. And I feel bad for the guys that don't know what's being left out because that's the kind of stuff that makes you screw up a part. I feel really, really bad about people watching those videos. And usually they've got a lot of views on them too. And then they wonder why their parts don't work or they have issues. And it's like, well, they left out a pretty important step along the way. And I wish guys wouldn't do that. There, that looks fantastic. Honda mold has all of our 5 coats of wax on it now. So this will set overnight. Let the wax really get a good surface coating. Our NACA duct has 5 coats on it, so that'll sit overnight and get a really good wax cure out. I might try to do the NACA duct here, I don't know, a couple days. I got to go get some materials for it. I don't think I have enough clear coat to actually spray 2 of those, which I need 2 of them. And I could probably go reload some carbon fiber because I'm running pretty low on that too. But if you're not subscribed, subscribe, turn on your notification, because then you can see when I go live. And like I said, otherwise I just repost my lives after I'm done. But you'll find more in the live section than you will in the actual video section. And I try to create playlists. I'm getting into that habit. I'm still a new YouTuber, right? So I don't have a ton of subscribers. I don't have a ton of videos, but I'm trying to create playlists for this project. Is called the Vintage Badges and NACA Duct Project, right? So anytime I do something for the vintage Honda badges or the NACA duct, I will throw it into, I will throw it into that playlist. I just got done doing a furniture chair that will be coming up very, very shortly with carbon fiber. That would be in the retro chair with modern flare folder. So I did all the mold work on that, all the prep work on that, and so you guys can watch the videos. Yes, they are very long. Yes, they are repetitive. Yes, there's there's a lot of information that you want to skip through. I get that. But there's also hidden gems in there, like when you do actually watch those videos. So even if you want to skip through them, get the gist of it, you guys will learn pretty quick what I'm about. So it's all good in the hood, right? So anyway, I am coated on wax and stuff like that here. I'm gonna hop off alive because it's getting to that 45-minute point, and I know nobody's gonna watch this long anyway. So we are double coated, 5 coats on each of my molds. We are ready for production. Stay tuned to see the results, and yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Like I said, if you're not sub here. If you want to go follow me on my Instagram, I do a lot of posting over there as well. Great at Customs on Instagram. And if you're into the hot rod thing, go check out Project Honda Rod and throw some likes that way too. So anyway, I'll catch you guys all later. Have a good one.